All right, good morning, traders. Today is January 27th, 2026. Wow, this month has gone by fast. Thank you for being here. My name is Coach Carignan. I am the lead instructor here at the BYOB Trading Room. That's the day trading division for the Hit and Run Candlesticks family. Thank you so much, everybody out there in podcast land, cyberland, digital land. Appreciate you subscribing and following and liking my content. Love that. Appreciate that. Thank you to everybody that shares the content. Special shout out John Jordan, Bob Jordan, Kathy Sour Roasted. Appreciate you sharing my content. Love that. Thank you so much. All right, let's take a look at the market. Let's take a look where the pivot is. Take a look at everything that's going on. See what happened yesterday. My SPY pivot this morning, 693, above it. I'm a bull, below it. I'm a bear. Silver and gold made new all-time highs yesterday. Diamond Dow, SPY, and QQQ made higher lows and higher highs, closing over bullish traps over their 17 EMAs. We like that. Some of them over their all-time high anchored VWAPs. We like that even more. Stinker made a higher low and a higher high, closing over a bearish trap, but under the falling 17 EMA. IWM made a lower low and a lower high, closing under a bullish trap, but over the 17 EMA. SPY closed with a 2-hour uptrend, 10-minute bullish consolidation. USO in an uptrend made a lower low and a lower high, closing over a bullish trap over the 17 EMA. UNG made a higher high and a higher low, closing over a bullish trap over the 17. US dollar index still in a daily downtrend, still in that big bear flag, and closed near the 97.08 area. SPY max pain for today, 688. Put to call ratio of about one put for each call that expires today at 4:15. Remember, the security options expire at 4. Index options expire at 4:15. The main event this week is going to be the FOMC announcement at 2 p.m. on Wednesday. Then there's going to be a little 30-minute press. 30 minutes later at 2:30, there's going to be a little presser where I think they come on and explain why they came to the decision that they came to. They kind of explain why they're doing what they're doing. All right, so that's the main event this week. FOMC on Wednesday. All right, let's take a look at the market. All right, and we'll get back to that in just a second. Okay, so here's SPY on the 10-minute. You can see price goes up and then moves over to the right, consolidates. All right, we're going to look at the same thing again, but we're going to look at it with the pre-market on. Okay, so we'll come over here, do the 10-minute, and we'll look at it here. And you can see we've got consolidation over prior consolidation. That's a bullish environment. All right, so for me this morning, what I plan to do is to buy some calls, and I plan to pick off the bottoms of the option candles on the calls. Okay, so what I do is I go to the first candle, first 5-minute candle on the option, and let's just say this is the candle right here. Okay, so for me, I box off the lower third, okay, or the lower half. All right, so I would box that off like right there. I'll move it over so it encompasses that. Okay, and then I start bidding for contracts on the lower third or the lower half of that contract, and then I keep staggering them down. And then on the next candle, I take the previous candle and box off the lower third, and I keep staggering buy orders underneath that. Now, my buy orders, as they come down, they increase in size, okay? So the first time I'm buying one right here, probably like every other penny. So like if price is at 50 cents, I'm probably buying one at 50, or let's say, or one at 50 cents, one at 48, one at 46. Okay, now as we get a little bit lower, in a 44. Now I'm buying one at every penny. Okay, so like 45, 44, 43, 42, 41. Okay, so you see where I'm starting to increase as price dips lower. All right, now as I get closer and closer to zero, all right, I will increase the amount that I'm purchasing. That brings my cost basis down as that bottom continues to fall into line with where I'd like to have my average. So then when price does bounce back up, all right, I will have a nice load of profit as price goes up. So on the lower third, I start bidding for contracts, and then well underneath it, I set up my grid of buy orders. Okay, that's how I bid for. I pick off the bottoms of the option candles. Okay, so remember, you got to have your option candle up there. So let's just say, let's put in an option candle. Let's put in this one right here. Okay, and I'm going to turn on trading just for a second. Okay, and then I'm going to go over to the 15-minute chart, but I'm going to zoom till we get some candles. All right, and then I'm going to spread this out. So on this, I would box off the lower third of this candle. All right, and that's where I would start bidding. Say this candle happened to be the first candle. All right, remember, I'm not bidding for these, I'm bidding for these. Okay, the options. So I take the lower third, and I start bidding for options underneath. That's how I pick off the bottoms of the option candles. Okay, and then I look at the previous one, and I start bidding at the 1/3 area, the first 1/3 from the bottom up. Okay, from first 1/3, start bidding from there up. That's how I pick off the bottoms. Now sometimes my grid is not high enough up and price takes off without me. That happens sometimes. Okay, so then in that case, the next candle up is going to be up here. So at the third mark on there, I'm starting to bid for picking off the bottoms of that candle. Okay, we want it to go up. That's a good thing. Okay, so that's how I pick off the bottoms. If you're wondering how I do that, box off the lower third and I start bidding from there. That's where my grid starts, and then it goes well underneath it as price or that option candle dips lower. All right, so I'm going to move this off to the side, okay, because you got the plan this morning, okay? I'm bullish because we're consolidating over prior consolidation. That's a bullish environment, all right? So I'm going to look to pick off the bottoms, all right, of the option candles, all right? And I really like 699 calls, 1 DTE, all right, 700 calls, 2 DTEs, okay, I'm just saying those are the ones I like, all right, this morning. And 0 DTEs, I like probably 698 calls, okay, so if you're wondering what I like, so 698, I'll just go ahead and put one of those, an order for those in there right now, 698, 5 cents. I'll take some 696 too. 698. Actually, I'm going to do all three. I'm going to do 10 cents, 10 of on each one of them. So this is me. I'm going to bid for some right now, right with you, while I'm in front of you. So I'm going to do 10 at market. Okay, 10 at market right there. 10 at market right there, and 10 at market right there. Okay, that'll be my beginning. And then as price dips lower, I'll plan on picking off the bottoms of those option candles. So that's my plan this morning. All right, so now let's move that off. You got my plan. Okay, and let's take the trading off. Okay, so we got 10-minute bullish consolidation. You can see consolidating over prior consolidation. That's a bullish environment for me. What is this? I got to move that out of the way. Okay, so A little disturbing. All right, so 10-minute, and we'll go back to my other one. All right, so 10-minute bullish consolidation coming into the close yesterday. 2-hour chart. Okay, we got the sticks and the 3. Let me give you the lay of the land, okay? The 3 EMA is this thin yellow line right here that kind of follows the sticks almost exactly. Okay, the 8 EMA, which is white, okay, is this white line right underneath the 3 or over the 3. Right now it's under the 3, okay? And then we've got the dots right here. That's the 17 EMA, okay? When price is below the dots, they're red. When price is above the dots, they're green. Pink line is the all-time high anchored VWAP. Okay, so now you got the lay of the land. All right, so we got the sticks and the 3 over the 8. Okay, so we have a bullish opening right here. So 2-hour is in an uptrend. All right, you can see we're already gapping up this morning. So 2-hour is in an uptrend. 10-minute, remember 10-minute was bullish consolidation. Okay, price went up and held the higher ground up here. Okay, that's a sign of strength when that happens. We went up and we held the higher ground. So 2-hour is in an uptrend. Daily chart is not in an uptrend, but let me just say the downtrend is not working out. Okay, so a failed downtrend. Okay, because we got a low here below the 17. We made a lower low. That put us in a downtrend right there. But get this, price is not moving down, it's moving up. So we got a failed downtrend. Hey, that's just as good as an uptrend sometimes, right? Okay, so we're at the top of quadrant 4. You can see here's the all-time high right here, this red candle. Top of quadrant 4, that's bullish up there. Here's our April low. All right, this is where we are now. We're at the top of quadrant 4 and holding the higher ground, okay? That's bullish. All right, so we're bullish and in a downtrend that is not working out. Okay, on the daily chart. And the good news on the bigger time frames, the weekly is still in an uptrend and bullish, and the monthly is still in an uptrend and bullish. Okay, so even though the daily has a failed downtrend or is still stuck in a downtrend, supposedly, but it's moving up, okay, we got the bigger time frames to help support us in our bullish conviction this morning, or our bullish bias this morning. Okay, so bullish and in an uptrend right there on the weekly and the monthly. Okay, daily not yet. All right, if they make a new high this morning, probably they will change that around. All right, let's take a look at the game plan. Look at it on the 15-minute chart here. Okay, so we got pivot 693. Okay, above it I'm a bull, below it I'm a bear. All right, red erases green entry underneath 691.70. Green erases red entry. That's what we had yesterday. Green erases red entry. Right over the top of this line right here. See that green candle shot up through there? That was a green erases red entry, and we traded that all day yesterday. Okay, so green erases red over 694.10. You can already see we're over 694.10. Okay, so again, we're just looking to pick off the lows of those option candles. I like to trade 3 days and 10 days till expiration Friday options on the multiple of 5 with strikes $2 to $15 out of the money. Now, I'm not opposed to trading 0 DTEs. I'm not opposed to trading in the money options, okay? Matter of fact, if you do trade in the money options, you'll get much better performance than I will with my out of the money options, okay? Okay, but it's a two-edged sword, okay? When price dips, all right, and if you've got 10 options, all right, if that dips $2, your account goes down. You remember, you're getting penny for penny performance. Your account's going to go down $2,000, okay? So it's a double-edged sword. If you can handle that, and you know that price is going to come back, or you feel that we're bullish and we will probably bounce right back up, all right, that's great. Okay, that means you can handle the in the money options, and you can handle that because you know you've traded them before. I'm just saying, if you've never traded them before, all right, they tend to be more expensive than the out of the money options. They don't tend to be, they are, okay, because they give you better performance. All right. And, when we have a pullback with the out of the money, I don't have that penny for penny performance. So therefore, mine don't dip as low as something that is in the money. All right. So I like because I only have a certain amount to trade with. All right. I trade with 10% of my account. So if my account's 157,000, I'm trading with 15,775. Okay, my daily goal is 1%. So my daily goal for this account is 1,576. Okay, so that's my daily goal for today. Okay, max risk 15,775. So only have a little bit of risk that I can use. Not a lot, just a little bit. So for that reason, that's why I picked the out of the money options, because I've only got a little bit to use, all right? And I always like to have a little bit left over on my risk so that if I have to dig myself out of trouble, in other words, double down or buy the lows of some option candle as price pulls back, all right? I want to have some ammunition, all right, to fight off the pullback. In other words, double down so I can bring my cost basis down to where the action is happening, okay? So I don't like to use even though I'm only using 10%, I don't even like to use all my 10% because I want some kind of firepower or ammunition to get me to where the action's happening at the time so that I'm able to turn a profit, all right? So that's what I do, okay? Again, I trade 10-minute uptrends over VWAP. I trade 10-minute downtrends under VWAP, okay? I like 10-minute uptrend. My favorite is a 10-minute uptrend over VWAP that resides inside the 2-hour uptrend that resides inside the daily uptrend. We don't have a daily uptrend, but let me just say the downtrend is not working out, okay? And we do have a weekly uptrend and a monthly uptrend, so they kind of got me covered. All right, so all of that over the all-time high anchored VWAP, that's my favorite trade. Now, if a 10-minute uptrend were to manifest an uptrend down here long before the green erases red entry, I'm not opposed to trading it as long as it breaks the bullish 10-minute rubber band candle. If a 10-minute downtrend were to manifest up here long before it gets to the red erases green entry, down there, I'm not opposed to trading it as long as it breaks the 10-minute bearish rubber band candle. Okay, so that's my SPY game plan for this morning. Okay, so let's take up QQQ. They got a game plan as well. Slide this over. Okay, QQQ, pivot 625. Above it, I'm a bull. Below it, I'm a bear. Green erases red. Over 627.55. You can see we're already over 627.55. Red erases green underneath 621.85. I like 3 days till expiration and 10 days till expiration Friday options on the multiple of 5 specifically for the open interest. Okay, I like a lot of liquidity. I like a tight bid-ask spread. All right, I don't want a lot of slippage when I get stopped out. I like strikes $2 to $15 out of the money. All right, because they tend to be a whole lot cheaper, and I like to get more than one. All right, I trade 10-minute uptrends over VWAP, 10-minute downtrends under VWAP. Same thing. All right, my favorite trade, again, 10-minute uptrend over VWAP that resides inside the 2-hour uptrend, that resides inside the daily uptrend. Okay, if I don't have a daily uptrend, I better have a weekly uptrend that resides inside the weekly uptrend, inside the monthly uptrend. I got a weekly and a monthly uptrend. Okay, so that's my QQQ game plan. All right, let's take a look at the 10-minute chart. Let's look at it on a clean chart here. 10-minute bullish consolidation. Okay, we'll look at it on the pre-market chart. This is QQQ. We've got consolidation over prior consolidation. That is a bullish environment. Okay, so I'm bullish on QQQ. How high are we as compared to the all-time highs? I'm curious where we are. So that would be the all-time high. So in the pre-market, let's see where's the all-time high go. Let's see. I just want to see. Okay, so all-time high is, okay, it's way up there. Let's put a line in. Okay, up here. So we're getting close. So that all-time high is 636.70 roughly, thereabouts. All right, and SPY does an average, the average daily movement for the QQQ is $8. We're at 629. You can see we are within striking distance of the all-time high on QQQ. Okay, if we've got an average daily move would be $8.39. Add that to, well, where we are, okay, or where we closed yesterday. Let's say we closed right here, 625. Add $8, so a little bit shy, just a little bit shy if we use the close. If we use where we are now, we are within striking distance. But if you use the close of yesterday, okay, we come up just a little short of making a new all-time high. So there's QQQ, okay? Again, bullish consolidation on the 10-minute, all right? Right over there, coming into the close. And then we've got in the pre-market, consolidation over prior consolidation. That's a bullish bias. Again, I want to pick off the lows of the option candles when we come out of the, open up out of the gate this morning. We'll see. All right, so that's QQQ. So we may get a pullback. All right, so kind of let that pullback play out if there is one. They may want to hit minor support, which is right on the top here. Okay, this would be minor support for yesterday's price action. So right up there. Okay, so they may pull back to here and then J-hook off of that. Okay, I would kind of expect that at one point or another. We'll see what happens, okay? Again, if they break the low right here of the pre-market activity, I would expect a pullback to test the top of this price action from yesterday right there, and I'd look for a J-hook back up. If they can't make a higher high, then they're probably going to come down and do the gap fill. That's QQQ on the 10-minute. All right, back to game plan over here. Okay, so on the 2-hour chart, you got the sticks and the 3 riding up over the 8. Okay, so that's a 2-hour uptrend right there. Okay, the sticks, the 8, and the 3 all riding over the 17. That's the dots right here. That's the 17. Pink line, all-time high anchored VWAP. Everything's over the all-time high anchored VWAP right there. Okay, so watch this price action right through here. Look for a pullback and then a pop up. We'll see. That's QQQ on the 2-hour. On the daily chart, okay, I'm going to take this out of there. Don't need it right now. I'm going to take this out because I don't need it right now. Okay, higher low, higher high, closing over a bullish trap. Over the flat 17 EMA, over the all-time high anchored VWAP. Okay, so we got a low here. We made a lower low. We're in a downtrend. We take out this high right here. All right, and it looks like we're taking it out today. Okay, then we convert. Well, we negate the downtrend and convert the uptrend. Okay, by making a higher high. It looks like they're going to get that done today. Okay, so that's QQQ on the daily chart. Weekly chart. See all the green dots, bullish and in an uptrend. Monthly chart, bullish and in an uptrend. Back to the daily chart. Again, here's our April low. There's our all-time high. And you can see we are close to challenging that all-time high. We've bumped on it once here, tried to get up and make a higher high. And it doesn't look like they're giving up until they're going to get one. All right, so another bump. Another couple of bumps, then another bump this week. All right, I think they're not going to give up till they get another all-time high. We'll see. All right, that's QQQ on the daily chart. Let's take a look at IWM. IWM price action for yesterday. Lower high, lower low, closing underneath the bullish trap over the rising 17. That's the green dots right there. Okay, up at the top of quadrant 4. Move this up there, okay? Underneath the all-time high anchored VWAP, okay? Top of quadrant 4, okay? Here's our April low. That's bullish and then an uptrend for IWM, All right, let's take a look at Diamond Dow. All right, so Diamond Dow put in that's a red candle, higher low, higher high, closing over a bullish trap. See where the body closed up there? Over the yellow 3 EMA, over a bullish trap, over the flat 17 EMA, at the very top of quadrant 4. Here's our April low. Okay, so that's bullish. They haven't made any new downtrends and in an uptrend. Remember IWM? Okay, hasn't made any lower lows below the 17. This will be the first low. So that's bullish and in an uptrend as well, both Diamond Dow and IWM. Okay, let's take a look at Stinker. All right, Stinker yesterday makes a higher low and a higher high, closing over. Still got a bearish trap. Still got some space between that 3 and that 8. So closing over a bullish trap, but under the falling 17, under the falling all-time high anchored VWAP. Okay, so if we were to take this and put the quad lines on there, here's our all-time high, here's our pullback low. We're still in quadrant 1. That's bearish. Okay, we're still in a downtrend. See that wick up there that pokes through the 17? Well, we got to get higher than that wick to negate the downtrend. Can they do it? I don't know. We'll find out. But right now, the nice thing is they're not moving down. Okay, they're actually moving up. So since FNGU hit the midpoint, all right, I'm going to show you the midpoint. Okay, they bounced up. So here's our April low. There's our all-time high. Here's our pullback to the midpoint. Okay, so where are they going? I would say most likely they're going to challenge the doorway to get into the upper third. So I would say 26 is probably in their sights. All right, I would expect them to bounce up to that area right there. If they happen to climb in there, that would be fantastic. All right, then they could no longer be neutral. They would then be bullish if they got into the upper third. Right now, they're just neutral, okay? Because remember, here's our April low, our all-time high. They're not in the upper third right now. They're not in the lower third. So they're just neutral. And again, they're still stuck in a downtrend because they keep making lower highs. See all-time high, lower high. See the low, lower lows. See lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, okay? So I would expect them to come back to, if they can get past this resistance here, they'll probably go up there and spike this area, try to break into the upper third and be bullish again. We'll see. That's FNGU. That's a stinker, all right? So there's that on the daily chart. Let's take a look at silver and gold. Start off with gold. All right, gold is at the top of quadrant 4. You can see here's our 2022 low. This is the origin of the move. We're at the top of quadrant 4. That's bullish and in an uptrend on gold, okay? Bullish in an uptrend. Made a new all-time high yesterday, okay? Doesn't get any better than that. Okay, silver. Silver putting in the sword. All right, with the business end pointed up. Okay, so I'll be looking for probably a bear call credit spread or some puts in that. The business end is pointed up. I think I want some puts or a bear call credit spread in silver. That looks like a top to me. Okay, I've seen a lot of tops in my lifetime. Okay, that looks like a top. All right, I'm just saying. That doesn't mean I go all in on it. All right, it means I kind of nibble on it. All right, might not be the top. Okay, but it looks like, I mean, I've seen a lot of tops and that looks like a top. All right, now they may go back up again today, put in the tweezer top. All right, and then we'll see what happens. If they fail to make the higher high, okay, they could be coming down. All right, but that, I've seen a lot of tops, and that looks like a top to me for silver. All right? So here's the 2022 low. Okay, there's the all-time high. That's silver. Got the sword. The business end is pointed up. You guys know what that means. All right, price goes up and rolls over. That's what the sword typically tells me. Okay, so we'll see. So we need follow through to the downside on the sword. We'll see. Maybe they go up and put the tweezer top in, then they roll over. We'll see. All right, so there's a daily chart. That's bullish and in an uptrend right now. Okay, but it's still giving me the candle. Okay, even though it's bullish and in an uptrend, I'm going to say that looks like a top. Okay, because it might not be. The top. It might go higher. We'll see. All right. So I just got to call it the way it is. It's bullish and in an uptrend, but I also want to say I've seen a lot of tops in my lifetime. That looks like a top. Okay. So there we are with silver. Okay. Let's take a look at UNG. UNG is... Oh, look at UNG. Okay. So now UNG was down here in quadrant 1. That's bearish. And hanging out in the lower third. So look at what UNG did. They closed in the neutral zone, all right, yesterday. So that's no longer bearish. They closed over the 12-month high anchored VWAP. Okay, so that's neutral now and in an uptrend. See, so UNG neutral and in an uptrend. Okay, the big question is, can they hold the higher ground? Okay, so for me, I want to see them hold the higher ground. Can they stay in the neutral zone up here? All right, we'll see. All right, looks like we're under it. Looking over there to the right and looking at the bright blue 1453, I got to tell you, it looks like we'll see where they close. All right, we'll see where the candle winds up today. So there's UNG, that's neutral and in an uptrend, okay, because there's the high. They made a higher high, so that makes them in an uptrend. They were in a downtrend because there's a low. They made a lower low, but once they take out this high right here over the 17, okay, now that's an uptrend. So they negated the downtrend and converted the uptrend. Okay, so neutral and in an uptrend, UNG. Let's take a look at USO. Okay, USO. Okay, so let's take a look at bigger picture. Okay, so here's USO. Okay, here's the top of the quad lines, the low of the quad lines. Okay, you can see we're on the bullish side of the midpoint. That's a nice place to be. We're up over. This is not the all-time high anchored VWAP. This is the 4-year high anchored VWAP. Okay, that's a post-COVID high from 2022 right there. Okay, and we made, you can see a high. We made a higher low right here. See, there's a low. We made a higher low. Okay, and you can see there's a high up here. Okay, and we made a higher high. So we're in an uptrend. Okay, not to mention we got the sticks and the 3, all right, hanging out over the 8. All right, both are pointed up. Okay, all 3 of them, the sticks, the 3, the 8, hanging out over the 17. See, the 17's got the green dots. Okay, so that's a uptrend right there, making higher lows, higher highs. So it's not bullish. It's acting bullish. It's neutral and in an uptrend. Okay, getting closer and closer to spring. I kept saying this. Okay, USO. Question is, can they hold the higher ground? Looking good so far. There's USO. All right, so we did silver, gold. We did oil and gas. Now let's take a look at the US dollar index. Okay, so take a look at this one. That's not the one. This is the one. Okay, so this is the 2025 high. Okay, and you can see price went into a downtrend, making lower highs and lower lows, and then into a bear flag. Okay, so down and then into a bear flag. Okay, so we were in an uptrend when we took out this high right here. Okay, we got ourselves into a nice uptrend right through here. Okay, and then we turned around, and then a couple days ago we made a lower low. So we negated the uptrend and converted the downtrend. So We're in a downtrend in a big bear flag and in a downtrend on the daily chart. Okay? So you can see they failed twice to make a higher high. So there's the high. Had they made a higher high on either one of these two attempts, okay, they would have had a nice uptrend. Okay, but they failed to do it. So what happens now is price going to come all the way back down here and check out the lows to see if the lows will now support price. Okay, so far you got a little spinning top. That could be a sign of support. Okay, so spinning top. So bulls and bears kind of agree on the price right there. Okay, so that's the U.S. dollar index right there. Okay, let's take a look at technicals. We'll start off. Let me slide this over. Okay, technicals. T2101. Okay, the market moved up yesterday and we lost participation. All right, but the IWM moved down. Okay, so I think this is closely related to more related to the IWM than it is to the SPY. So that's kind of normal, all right? I'd rather see more participation when the SPY goes up, but can't have everything. T2101, IWM pulled back, and of course, participation pulled back. That'd be the breadth right there. T2122, okay? So we found our way from the buy zone on an inverse head and shoulders pattern. Head, right shoulder, left shoulder. And we found ourselves in the buy zone. Well, we got to hang out there for a cup of coffee, half a donut, all right? Not a full donut, half a donut. And then we got kicked out by the bears. So we just kind of lingered around and camped out in the buyer's chop zone. So we're on the bullish side of neutrality. This yellow line right here, this would be half court. Midfield, 50-yard line, 50-50 split right here. We're on the bullish side, okay? So that's good, all right? For the bulls anyways, all right? So here's price hanging out in the buyer's chop zone. Good news is they didn't make a lower low, all right? So hopefully the bulls get inspired to make a higher high and get us back up here in the overbought zone. We'll see, all right? Right now, I can't complain, all right? We're in the buyer's chop zone. We're not far from the buy zone, so we'll see what happens. That's T2122, T2123. Okay, so there's the high, all right? And look at yesterday's price action, the 26 right here. You can see we made a higher high. Okay, so if I back way out, you can see that was a new all-time high for T2123. Okay, price is flatlining, okay, up over the 200 SMA. Okay, so price moves up and holds the higher ground. That's a show of strength. Okay, so that's bullish. So the markets are looking bullish. You can see them. You got a lot of the indexes hanging out at the top of quadrant 4. You can see a lot of the technicals kind of lingering in the upper third or in the upper quadrant. Okay, T2123. New all-time high yesterday, hanging out over the rising 200 SMA. Hey, that's where I want to be if I'm a bull. There's T2123 15-minute chart. Okay, in an uptrend and bullish. Okay, notice that bullish gap. Bears haven't filled it in 3 days. Okay, that's bullish. Another bullish gap. Bears haven't filled it in 3 days, 4 days. Okay, so that's a sign of the bulls have control. Okay, so we'll take a look at the 3-bar chart. Okay, this is the same product, but we're looking at it on a bigger time frame, so it encompasses much more time. Okay, you can see here's our April low. There's our new all-time high before this one came along. Okay, that was our all-time high right up there. We had a pullback, okay, to the head and shoulders neckline. There's a little mini head and shoulders right there. To the head and shoulders neckline, and then we bounced. We climbed on top of 200 SMA, and then we consolidated up there, okay? Bullish consolidation over the flat 200 SMA. From there, we did a measured move up, maybe a little bit more, looks like it to me. Okay, so that was the all-time high for a long time until this measured move came along and made a new all-time high. So we are at all-time highs here on T2123 on the 3-bar chart. Okay, so that's bullish. Obviously, you can see here's your April low. You're at the top of quadrant 4. Okay, you're bullish and in an uptrend on the 3-bar chart. Okay, so there's a low. In order to get in a downtrend, they'd have to take out that low. So we're at the top of quadrant 4. Okay, that's bullish and in an uptrend. Well over the flat 200 SMA right up there. Okay, let's take a look at Stinker on the 15. Stinker moves up and holds the higher ground. Stinker climbs on top of the 200, the falling 200 SMA, and holds the higher ground. Hey, didn't we see that before? Hey, yeah, we saw the same thing over here. See the 200 here kind of fading, and price crawled up there and held the higher ground, okay? Then put in a measured move to the upside. Okay, so maybe, just maybe, okay, Stinker could do the same thing. Consolidate maybe for a couple more days. Okay, then measured move up to, yeah, maybe the all-time high anchored VWAP. We'll see, all right? Don't want to get ahead of myself, but we just did fill this bearish gap down right there. That's a bullish sign. We're up and we're holding the higher ground. That's a bullish sign. Okay, we're making higher lows. There's a low. There's a higher low. There's a high. We're making higher highs as well. So we're in an uptrend, okay? All in all, let's not get too excited. Let's put the quad lines on here. As you can see, remember on the daily chart, okay, Stinker still down here in quadrant 1. Okay, so still bearish, but in an uptrend, fighting it off, all right? So there's Stinker on the 15. So far, looking good, okay? Making higher lows and higher highs. Can't ask for much more than that. And holding the higher ground, okay? So that's, even though we're bearish down here, we're in a nice uptrend, and they sure are trying to fight it off. That's FNGU, all right? 15-minute chart. Let's take a look at the economic package. All right, let's start with Max Payne. That's going to be an easy one, 688. That's for the SPY puts and calls for today. Okay, 688 is supposedly Max Payne. Max Payne is more of a Friday number. Not to say that they don't chase it down sometimes during the week. I'm just going to say it's a Friday number for where a lot of options expire and market makers use it and kind of target it if they feel like it. It depends on where they can make the most profit, is either on Max Payne or the put squeeze. And today's not Friday, so Max Payne kind of becomes irrelevant throughout the week. As we get closer to the end of the week, it becomes more and more relevant as we get closer to the end of the week. Put to call ratio is 0.96 puts for each call. So roughly less than one put for each call that expires today. This is only for the puts and calls that expired today. Okay, so that's Max Payne here. Okay, let's take a look at the earnings calendar. Today we're going to have United Health Group. All right, that's $322 billion. All right, nothing to sneeze at. Okay, but it's not a semiconductor. Okay, people like tech. All right, tech's a big mover. Tech's got a lot of growth. Not that UNH didn't have growth. Okay, and it did. Okay, but let me just say, people like tech. So it could be a market mover, but really rarely is it. All right. Okay. Even though if they come out with fantastic numbers. Okay. We got Raytheon. All right. 262 billion. All right. That's going to be defense. Boeing also defense, 191 billion. Nextera Energy, 176 billion. And then this evening we do have some tech. Texas Instruments, 175 billion. And then we got Union Pacific, that would be our railways, 136 billion. HCA Healthcare, 107 billion. Northrop Grumman, more defense. Okay, and that's 80, looks like 96 billion. And then we got Brown, UPS, right there. They're going to report this morning. So a lot of reports this morning, okay? Nothing that's really going to be market moving, even though the SPY's gapping up, all right? To me, there's nothing here that's going to be market moving. Not even Texas Instruments, all right? And they don't report till tonight, okay? They could help out their sectors. The big news is to see you want the KRE and the financial sector to be in an uptrend, okay? Those, to have a nice, robust rally, you kind of got to have the SMH, which is the semiconductors, and you can see clearly they're in a nice, beautiful uptrend right there. Okay, the market rallies on tech, bottom line. Okay, and then you want XLF, which is in a downtrend. So we got this working against the tech. All right, so which is kind of like, it's like an anchor on the robust rally. Okay, because the XLF is not working. Then we got the XLI, it's the industrials. The industrials are working. So we got two of the Trinity working, all right, and the third one in the Trinity is not. Okay, hopefully it finds a bottom. Let's see, XLF. Where could we find support? Not till down here. Not that we couldn't find some support right here. But you got the peak between two valleys. And we got lower than the peak. Unless we're recovering right now. We got lower than the peak between two valleys. That's always my target. Peak between two valleys or the valley between two peaks. Those are always my targets. Okay, so you can see we got past that. So that's usually the bounce is on those. And we didn't get the bounce. Well, we did, okay, right here. But it wasn't nearly as long as we, not a very high bounce. Okay, so it's not working out. So it's looking like we're not going to get support till we get down here. So we'll see what happens, all right? So still got some more room for the XLF to drop. All right, so I digress sometimes, okay? And I just want to talk about robust rallies, okay? Again, you need the semis. You want technology, all right? And you want the XLF, which we don't have. You can see clearly it's in a downtrend, like right there. Well, it's in a pullback. No, it's in a downtrend because they took out this low right here. So they're in a downtrend. Okay, so you got the XLF not working, but you got the XLI. That's the industrials. They are working. Okay, so that's good. Okay, so we only got two of the three working. So we'll see what happens. All right, so let's go back to, let's see, I got off track. I know I got off track. All right, so we'll see what happens today. Tomorrow, earnings. We got Microsoft, $3 trillion. Meta Platforms, my eyes aren't that good. I'm going to call it $1.7 trillion right there. And then we got Tesla, $1.4 trillion. So this is going to be a market moving day. Okay, all reporting Wednesday evening. Okay, then we got ASML Holdings, $555 billion. Nothing to sneeze at there. That's $500 billion. Okay, and then we got Lam Research, $279 billion. I've never seen the market rally off of Lam Research. But as long as they continue to report the same day Microsoft, Meta, and Tesla, we'll never know. All right. IBM, $276 billion. They're going to report tonight tomorrow night, along with the tech. Amphenol, $190 billion in the morning, along with ASML Holdings. GE Verona, $180 billion. Daenerys, $167 billion. AT&T, $166 billion. Wow, it's a ton of market cap reporting tomorrow. Okay, $141 million. ServiceNow, $121 million. these are billions, not million, billion. Progressive Corporation. And then we got Starbucks, 109 billion. Automatic ADP, automatic data processing, 104 billion. General Dynamics, more defense, 98 billion. Okay, so this is going to be a big, wild, volatile day. All right. Well, especially the evening. And I can tell you, based on some of the big boys reporting in the daytime, probably be all day and all night. This will probably last well into Friday. Okay, so we could see some new all-time highs based on the reports here from the big caps. Because when these big caps move together, like a pack of wolves, all right, they can drag those two indexes right along with them. I'm talking about the QQQ and the SPY. Okay, let's take a look at Thursday. All right, another big one reporting, $3.6 trillion in the evening. Visa, 626 or $28 billion, well over half a trillion. Okay, that's Thursday night. MasterCard, $471 billion. Okay, it's Thursday morning. Caterpillar on $293 billion, Thursday morning. SAP, $283 billion, Thursday morning. Thermo Fisher, $235 billion, Thursday morning. CLAC, $198 billion, Thursday evening. Honeywell, $140 billion, Thursday morning. They're more tech than they are retail. Lockheed Martin, more defense, $136 billion, Thursday morning. Stryker Corp, $135 billion in the evening, along with CLAC, little tech there, and Apple tech there. Visa's financials, all right. So, of course, MasterCard is too, all right. But Visa's going to report in the evening. MasterCard's going to report in the morning. And we've got another page. And we've got Parker Hannifin, $117 billion. And Sanofi Advantis, $115 billion. Blackstone, $111 billion. Comcast, $106 billion. Altria, $103 billion. So a whole lot of market cap reporting this week. This is the main event, all right? This will be the big week for January, especially for this earnings season. You can see it's a lot of market cap reporting. So it could get really volatile. Expect options to probably start spiking, all right, right now because of so much, there's going to be a lot of movement, all right, based on the earnings and the way that people extrapolate what's coming out or the guidance that's given in them. Friday, all right, we've got ExxonMobil, $568 billion. Chevron, $337 billion. American Express, $250 billion. Verizon, $167 billion. Okay, so a whole lot of market cap coming out Friday morning. Okay, so right there, a lot of energy right there. This would be communications, of course. Okay, on the earnings calendar, main event this week, FOMC announcement at 2 p.m. Wednesday. Got a lot coming on Wednesday. Remember, those big caps report after the close. For today, we've got Case-Shiller Home Price Index at 9 a.m. FHFA House Price Index, 9 a.m. Consumer Confidence, 10. New home sales, 10. Tomorrow, some delayed reports, but the main event is going to be FOMC announcement tomorrow. Okay? All right, that's it for me. I'll see you guys in about 30 minutes, and we'll open up the markets. Remember, my bias is bullish this morning. Not to say that we couldn't see a harsh pullback. I'm just saying my bias is bullish based on we got consolidation over prior consolidation. I got kind of 700 in my sights for today. We'll see, all right? KRE's better. KRE's more, hey, Gene, good to see you. Carries more local or local. Yeah, I'm going to call it local. All right. It's the kind of like the bricks and mortar. Yeah, regional. Exactly. Regional. Not quite. Not geared towards investment banking as much as the XLF. Well, the XLF is just overall sector, but yeah, regional banking. You've said it. You said it better than I did. All right, I'll see you guys in like 25 minutes. Okay, so we open up the markets here. Yeah, thank you, traders.